Hey guys, welcome to my channel, and if you've been subscribed for a while, welcome back to my channel. Today I have more of a serious story time. As you can see from the title, you kind of know what this is going to be about, and before I start rambling, let's get on to the story. So this happened back in November of 2016, and I don't really know how to start this story, so I'm just going to start it from my birthday. And unfortunately, on my birthday, I had to work, so I couldn't spend it with my family. But I did make plans to come see my family on the days I was off or something. So I came, we had fun, we went to my brother's house, it was a really good time. And I believe that night or the next night, I forgot my PJs at home, so I didn't have any PJs. And I went to my dad, I'm like, hey dad, can I borrow like a big shirt or something like that if I could sleep in, because I forgot my pajamas. He's like, yeah, like here you go. He gave me a new shirt from his job with his job's logo, and that's going to be important later on in the story. That's why I'm mentioning it. Now fast forward to days later, my mom went closer to where I live, and she called me and she's like, hey, do you want to go eat or something? I'm like, hell yeah I do, like let's go. So we went to eat, and I believe I had to go to school that day. So she left to do whatever she had to do. I went to school, and now fast forward that day, I'm at the parking lot of Wingstop with my best friend, and my mom starts calling me, and I answer. I'm like, hey, what's up? And she's like, oh, I'm home. And I'm like, okay, that's cool. And she says, I don't feel well. And I tell her, well, what's wrong? And she says, oh, like nothing, I'm just tired. And I'm like, yeah, right, like quick, like stop lying to me. And she doesn't tell me. I don't question her about it. I just figured maybe she didn't want to tell me at that moment, and I'd ask her the next day. So Jojo and I continue going to Wingstop. We get our food, we go back to my place, we start eating, and I start getting another phone call from my mom, and I'm like, hey, like what's up? And she's like, hey, remember when you got in that car accident? And I'm like, yeah, why? And she's like, well, do you still have that number of the lawyer or lawyer's assistant? And I'm like, yeah. She's like, can you give it to me? And I'm like, yeah, like, all right. But I didn't question her. I just thought she wanted to give it to like a friend that needed it. I never thought it would be like for her or for my dad or any of us. So I sent it to her, and now the next morning, when I wake up, I call her. That's usually what I do. I usually call her and be like, hey, good morning, what's up? Like, this is what I'm doing. What are you going to be doing? Stuff like that. So I call her. I'm like, hey, mom, like, I just woke up. I'm going to clean. I'm going to work later. And I start hearing, like, voices in the background. I'm like, hey, who's there? And my sister takes the phone, and she's like, I have to tell you something. And I tell her, well, what's up? And she says, our dad got taken away. And I asked, what are you talking about? Who or how? And she says that immigration came and took my dad. And honestly, I just I don't even know. I just felt my whole world being turned around, because you don't really expect that to happen to you. You don't expect your parents to be taken away at some point, just out of nowhere, when you just had fun with them. I completely felt horrible. I didn't know what to do. I started crying, and I couldn't control myself. So I told her, hey, I can't control myself, I'll call you back. So we hang up, and I proceed crying like I don't know, like I just didn't know what to do. And I get my phone, I start calling my friend, she didn't answer. I called another friend, she didn't answer. I called my best friend, and you're wondering, why did you call your best friend last? It was kind of early. I thought she would be at work, or she was still sleeping. I didn't want to wake her. But I called, and I don't think she answered either. But she did call me back pretty quickly. And I'm still crying, and she's like, what's wrong? And I told her, my dad, he got taken away. She's asking how, and I tell her, but literally that's all I know, that he just got taken away. That's all I know. I don't have details, I don't have anything. And she tells me, like, do you need me to go? Like, I'll go. And I'm like, yes, please, like, please come. I don't know what to do. So we hang up. my mom starts calling me and she says, are you okay? And I tell her no, like I can't control myself. So she starts telling me I don't know what to do either. I don't know how to contact him. I don't know how to contact his job. He never gave me that number. We never had this conversation. We knew this could happen at some point, but we never really expected it to. And I'm still crying. I told her, just give me a couple minutes. I'll call you back. Let me control myself. I'll figure it out. I'll do something. So we hang up, and I'm thinking like, oh my gosh, how could I get that number? I start Googling what his job's company's name is, but nothing's really popping up. I'm getting like different ones that are similar, but not that one. And I knew his boss's name, so I was Googling that and like Googling the whole company's name and nothing. But then I remembered the shirt. I had brought it home. I didn't leave it at my parents' house. So I got it and I looked at the logo. I'm like, that's it. Like I could Google that. So I Googled that. I found my dad's boss's name and I called him. So I'm calling him and it goes to voicemail. And at that time I kind of contained myself and tried not to cry, and I told him, hey, this is, I don't know what to give my dad's name. This is dad's daughter. Can you please call me back to this number? I have to talk to you. So not even 5 minutes later, he calls me and he's like, hey, what's wrong? Like, is your dad okay? Where is he? I didn't see him today, or I haven't seen him today. And I start crying again. I still don't know what to do. And I tell him, I can't talk. He's like, what's wrong? Like, did something happen to him? And I'm like, I really can't talk. I'm gonna give him your number to my sister and she's gonna call you. So I texted her his number. So my best friend got there and I tried not to cry. I tried to just tell her what happened. Literally what I told her on the phone was exactly what I told her when she got there, because that's all I knew. That's what all of us knew. That day I had to go to work. I don't remember if I closed that day or if I had like a mid-shift or something like that, but at the end of my shift, I did do my shift, but at the end of it, I pulled aside one of my team leaders and I told her, hey, this happened. I talked to her privately and I just started crying again, and I told her, please give me any hours you can, give me any position in the store that you can. I just need hours because I feel I have to help my mom somehow, because my dad just got taken away. I don't know when I'm gonna see him. I don't even know how he is. I haven't talked to him. None of us have. And she tells me like she's gonna try her best to like get me hours and stuff like that. So I leave and I go see my mom. My mom's at my sister's house. I drive over there and we go to a grocery store or something like that, or we go to a drive-thru, then a grocery store, because I had not eaten all day since my best friend was at my place. And I start asking what happened, like, please, like, explain to me. And they're like, we don't know anything. All we know is that your dad, your uncle, and your cousin got taken away. I told them, like, how is that possible? Who could have done that? Why could they have done that? Like, I get it. It's happening, but why our house? Like, what happened? So I continue eating and they tell me like, we'll be back. They go into the grocery store and I stay in the car. Now a couple minutes later I see my mom like rushing into the car. I'm like, what the fuck's happening? And she's on the phone and she puts it on speaker so I could hear what's up. And it was my uncle, and he starts like speaking and I'm like, okay, like he's trying to tell us like what happened. So he tells us, I just got deported. And my heart sank. I'm like, no, like if he got deported, that means my dad got deported. And he starts telling the story of how everything happened. Now what he said is that my dad and him were just getting home from work. So they came into the house, they parked the car, they were about to start eating. He told us that they were literally about to start eating when they heard some trucks pulling in. And now my dad has a tendency of checking who's there but going outside. So he went outside and saw like a black truck or some black car or something like that and thought it would be my brother. And it wasn't, because there was like more. And then I guess my dad saw who they were, they saw who my dad was and grabbed him. And my uncle was watching or something, or peeped and saw oh shit, that's immigration, let me hide. So he hid, and he said he was found, but then they started digging around the house and like checking things. So they found a check with my cousin's name on it. Now, my cousin is a sushi chef, and they saw where that restaurant was at, and they went all the way to his job just to go get him. So meantime, or while they were searching, something like that, they were questioning my dad, asking him, why do you have so many cases of water? And my dad's like, what are you talking about? And they're like, well, you have a lot of cases of water at the house. And honestly, you guys, my parents drink a lot of water. If I remember when I'm editing, I'll post a picture of how many cases they have right now up here. But they're always drinking water, that's why they have a lot of cases of water. And my dad's like, well, there was a special and we drink a lot of water. And they continue questioning him, asking, well, why do you have so many beds in your home? And honestly, you guys, my bed is still in my room. Like, where I'm filming right now is my room when I used to live with my parents. So my bed is still here, my little couch is still here, my TV is still here. It's just here. And there's another room that has like 2 beds, and then there's my parents' room and it has 2 beds. And my dad's like, well, I have kids, like they're grown, but when they visit they sleep over, because we don't live close to my parents. We live like a good hour away, or for one of my siblings, she lives 4 hours away. So whenever she comes or whenever I come over, we spend nights here, because we're not gonna just drive a long way and then drive back to go home. And I don't think they told him anything. I think they were just like assuming he was lying, and they took him, the 3 of them. And my uncle, as he was telling us a story, they said, well, I'm deported, my cousin was not deported, and my dad wasn't deported. He said that my dad told them that he wanted to get like a hearing or like something like that, and that he wasn't gonna leave just like that he wanted a lawyer. And they agreed. So my uncle said, here is the number, I guess like prisoner number or something. So he gave that to my mom, and then my mom figured out with my sister how to get in contact with my dad. But there was like a big process you had to do, and they were doing that like throughout the days. And I was working, and I was a full-time student at the time, so I wasn't able to just, you know, be with them the entire time, because I felt that I had to work and just like try to get some money to try to help pay bills, because like I said, my dad wasn't here. And I believe in December I finally got to talk to him. I don't remember what day, but my mom was always telling me like, your dad, like I talked to him, and I'll be like, oh my god, tell him I said hi, like how is he doing, like are they feeding him well, like how is he, like I was really concerned. She's like, well, he tells me he's fine and he wants to talk to you, when are you gonna be able to come? She was staying at my sister's house, and I was like, well, I'll be there soon, or when is he usually calling? So when I would go, he said that he'd call. So one day in December I went when he said that he'd call. I was there, and he never called, and I was confused on, well, where is he? So the next morning I was still there, and he didn't call. And my mom's like, that's weird, like he usually, when he tells me he's gonna call, he calls. But the day when I left, he finally called, and he told my mom that he got transferred to New Jersey. Like, what the fuck do you mean? Because he went from California to, I think, Arizona, and then he got transferred to New Jersey. That's on the other side of the country. When I finally found out, I asked her like why they do that, and she told me that she doesn't know. I don't think he even knew why, but he was all the way over there. And I think the next week we finally planned out when I would be able to talk to him. So I finally talked to him, and you guys, I don't think my mom saw me cry after the day it happened. I don't think I ever let her. And that day I got really, really teary when I finally got to talk to him, because I didn't know if I would ever be able to talk to him again. Not that he was like, you know, dead or anything like that, but you just don't know when you're able to talk to him. I didn't even know when I would be able to see him again. And obviously we had like lawyers working out with this whole thing, and I know I'm like all over the place, but my dad's boss, when he spoke to my sister, I was told that he told her that he was gonna help out because he said that my dad's a great man, and he paid for the lawyer. He helped out my mom a lot with, like, you know, because my dad would get paid and it would go direct deposit into the bank, so he would send money to my mom for the days that he was working, or like his sick hours, and then I would help out with like bills, whatever I can. So that was working out. And now in sometime in December, late December or mid-December, I'm getting ready to go out. I believe I'm going to the movies or something like that. And I call my mom, and she's like, I have to talk to you. I'm like, what happened? And she says, your grandpa passed away. And I'm like, who? And she's like, well, your dad's dad. And I got really like teary. I didn't really say anything because I didn't know what to say. And I told her, well, I feel really bad about that. Like, have you told him? And she's like, no, because I feel if I tell him, he's gonna sign a form, because while you're in there, they give you an option to sign a form practically saying that you're okay with going back to your country and you can't come back, or you can't come back for a certain amount of time, something like that. And she's like, I don't want to tell him, because what if he wants to go so badly that he's gonna sign that form and we're close to like finishing his case, or the lawyers say so. And I kind of just go with it and tell her, okay, well, we're gonna figure this out, and like what's gonna happen and stuff like that. So we hang up, and I do go out, and I remember I felt bad, but I didn't want it to like completely ruin my day, so I try to go out, watch the movie, and I think I ate or something like that. Fast forward a little bit more. So the lawyers are asking for letters, because they're saying that if my dad is well liked, or like he is the kind of person that we say he is, the lawyer wants letters to show up during the court date. Now the court date was supposed to get scheduled in January, so I wrote my letter on time. We had some of his friends and his boss write a letter, and actually I have the letter with me, the original one, not the one I sent out. I'm gonna read it to you guys. I don't think I dated it. My father. The most admiring person I know. He's been present since the day I was born and has done everything to help me in whatever I needed. He's the most hardworking person I've ever met. Growing up, I remember him being up early on the weekends fixing our yard with my mom while listening to music, or separating his plastic and glass bottles to get them recycled. Even though he worked every day, he'd always find time to talk to me about my goals, becoming an actress and a singer, and what I was going to do to accomplish that. He's been supportive through it. I can honestly say he's my backbone. After performances, whether I won or not, he'd praise me and tell me to keep it up and never give up. Not only has he been emotionally and physically supportive, he's always been financially supportive. With my dad, I don't ever remember feeling as if I didn't have enough. He made sure I had everything I needed. Clothes, food, and a home. Even after I decided to move out on my own, he told me not to hesitate to ask him for help. I'm sorry. I remember one night I was on my way to go see him and my mom, but on my way I got a flat tire. Half an hour later, there he was, ready to help me. He's the kind of person I want to be. Someone who's reliable, hardworking, and influential to others. Not only has he been such a great dad, he's been a great person in general. Willing to help his friends or anyone that needs help. My dad being taken away has been one of the hardest things I have had to deal with, because someone like him with good morals and characteristics shouldn't have been taken away from his family. He deserves to stay in the US. So I rewrote it because this one has a lot of like scratches and stuff like that. When the day finally came for the court, I was at school and I was waiting for my mom's call or my mom's text, and I wasn't getting anything. So when I finally had time, I called her and I'm like, hey, what happened? Where is he? Is he getting out? What's gonna happen? And she tells me the court has been pushed or will get pushed. And I told her why. And she's like, well, the lawyer was gonna do everything over the phone. Excuse me. For it could be more convenient for my mom. That way she wouldn't have to pay his stay or his fly out there. And he said, here, I don't remember if it was a woman or a man, they said that they could do it over the phone, that they'd be able to. But there was a miscommunication on what number they were calling or whose number they were calling, and the judge got there late. So because of that, everything was like canceled or moved. So the lawyer said they'd find another date close, but they weren't sure when. And later on we found out that they were going to move the date to February. Now this was in January. It was going to be almost a full month till they could have another court date. So fast forward to February. Now this is the court date, and before the whole court date was close by, the lawyer found something sketchy about the case. And told my mom, don't worry about this. I'm not going to do it over the phone. I'm going to fly out there. Mom's like, well, wait, hold on. Like, why or what's going to happen? Because I have to pay you for that. And I don't remember if it was a man or a woman, but I think it was a woman, so I'm going to go with that. She told her, don't worry about it. I'm going to go. And so she went, and she managed to get my dad out of there. So you would assume that because they took him out to New Jersey, they'd bring him back to California. Now that wasn't going to happen. After he was out. It was kind of like fend for yourself, or like do everything for yourself. My mom and, you know, all of us thinking like he's going to get out. We gave the passport to the lawyer and gave the lawyer a ticket to come on the bus. And that was given to my dad, and he was able to come back. It took him, I think, a couple of days. So he made it back by Valentine's Day, or the day before Valentine's Day, and like always, I was at work. So after work, I drove to my sister's house because that's where he was with my mom. And when I got there, I called my mom and told her, hey, I'm here, can you come? Because we had to like park the car somewhere else. And she came, and I'm like, where is he? Like, I was kind of expecting him to come out too. When she told me like he's on the phone with his mom, and she tells me that she finally told him about what happened with his dad, and said that he was very upset. So I got upset because he was upset. So we went and parked the car, and we got back to my sister's house. I see him, I go to hug him, and I didn't fully cry. I didn't want to cry, because he was finally there. I was finally able to see him, you know. So I hugged him. My eyes got teary, but I didn't want to cry. He was on the phone, and I just kept hearing him talked to my grandma, and he started crying. So I remember that night, when he finally got off the phone, he went upstairs to get ready for bed. And you guys, when I saw him, he was pale. He looked so thin. And the next morning, my mom, my sister, and I went out to eat with him for breakfast, and we were like having pancakes, and we started talking. I started kind of asking him like, well, how was it, or what happened? And he starts telling us, well, our house has been investigated for the past 3 years. And I was thinking, well, that doesn't make sense, because we weren't living there those 3 years before that. We started living there like 2 years, or like around 2 years ago, well, when at the time, and when I was living with them. And he's like, well, someone was being investigated there, and then they finally came to the house, and that's why he was taken away. And they were accusing him of like being those people who bring people. And I was telling him, well, that's stupid, because you're always at work. That could have been checked with your boss, like your attendance, you're always there. And then he started telling us how it was on his way back on the bus. So he started telling us that they were having like little stops, and he'd see people. And this is kind of out of the subject of the whole deportation part, but he would see this man, and like he would never get off the bus. So my dad finally went up to him and was like, hey, like, you coming down? You want to go get coffee? He's like, oh no, I can't, like, I don't have any money or anything. I haven't eaten in like 2 days, so I'm not getting off. And I was like, well, come on, like, just come. So they went, and my dad bought him food, and he told us that he was kind of like shy, and was kind of telling like, well, can I get this? And my dad's like, yeah, like, well, I'm not gonna eat it, you're gonna eat it, go ahead, like, take it. So that happened. And then he started telling us like how he got along with people, and that he wasn't handcuffed the entire time he was there, and that with this like group, because he kind of made friends there. So with this group, they kind of all just like hung out together and talked to each other about everything that was happening with their lives, and like if their family knew they were in there. And some of them didn't. Their family didn't know where they were at. They were kind of just taken away and not heard of. And my dad thought that was really like unfair. And my dad was able to talk to my mom while he was in there, but their family members couldn't talk to them. Like, they weren't making money. The only way that you're able to really like be on the phone is if your family sends money for you to get kind of like credit. And what my dad did, which I think is amazing, is that since he made friends and some of their families didn't know, he was able to get contact numbers of their family members, and he gave them to my mom. My mom got in contact with their family, and that's how they were able to find their family inside there. And that's amazing. I feel my dad didn't have to do that, but he did it because, I mean, that sucks, like not knowing where your family's at. So at some point while we were eating breakfast, my dad just breaks down and starts crying, because I mean, he just found out his dad passed away. And I start asking him like, well, what's gonna happen now? Are you going to keep living there? Are you guys gonna move? Like, I don't want you living there. And he says, no, we're gonna keep living there because that's our home. Like, my job is close by. That's unfair that we would have to move out when I didn't do anything. And I told him, well, you're right, but it's just scary. He's like, well, I'm gonna keep being there. That's our home. And sure enough, like, he came back home and he went right back to work. And he saw his boss, and he's working right now, and I'm just so happy that he's back. And every time I think about it, I think, dang, like, this is something that happened to me. And I'm posting this story for people could be aware that this is happening. And you might hear it on the news and you might think, well, someone's making it up. Like, no, it's happening. It's serious. Like, it might be happening to your neighbors and you don't even know it. And I know this video is more on the serious side. My next video probably won't be. So that's my story on deportation. I don't even know how to end this video. I'm not gonna ask for comments or likes. I just hope you learned something out of this, and I felt this had to be shared. I'm pretty sure I skipped over a lot of details, so if you have questions, don't be afraid to ask. Thank you guys so much for watching, and bye.